If you're healing from CPTSD, complex PTSD, I want to tell you something that you might not know. You might not be aware of it. For me, I was diagnosed with complex PTSD about 5 years ago, and I've had it for a lot longer than that. And a lot of my healing and discovery has come from me and from learning and doing the research. And now in the past few years, it's a lot of it has come from other people and other people's accounts or the science behind it. And this has all been so interesting for me. So something that I learned recently was the psoas muscle, which is the muscle that is at the lower of your spine, like right before you get to your butt, that part of your lower spine. That is your psoas muscle, and it is the only connective tissue that connects your torso to your hips, and it connects all around. It's connective tissue. When they say trauma is stored in hips, which I've heard for a few years now, that is what they're meaning. They're meaning the psoas muscle. I didn't know this muscle existed before a month ago, maybe, and I heard someone talking about it. And then since then, I've done a lot of my own research. And the psoas muscle is the holder. That is the emotional holder. If you Google it, what does the psoas muscle hold? The psoas muscle is spelled PSOAS. I had to look up how to say it. And it holds trauma, anxiety. Every time you've tensed up, so in complex PTSD, it's complex trauma. PTSD and complex trauma, the only difference, or complex PTSD, the only difference is PTSD is from one event, one traumatic event, and then you're moving forward. Complex PTSD is when the traumatic event did not stop. There's numerous traumatic events, there's numerous abusers, there's a lot going on. You can imagine each trauma causes a response in your body, right? So if you've ever been through trauma, anything scary, anxiety, anything, you know that you tense up, right? Okay, that's how your body's designed. Again, I've learned a lot recently about this, but that's how your body is designed, is to tense up, to learn to defend yourself in the midst of, if I come across someone with a gun to me, I need to be able to protect myself. But I don't want to feel like that situation is happening when I'm just walking outside and people are looking at me, but I feel like they're holding a gun to me and saying, "You're not worthy, stupid whore, you're not worthy." But that is not them. That is my internal beliefs based on what I've been conditioned by. And that psoas muscle. So when you tense up, the psoas muscle is tensed up. That's the muscle that tenses. And it does it. So I learned that it's so you can get into a fetal position easier to defend yourself again. So when you're doing that, your body constricts itself to that psoas muscle. When it's in that survival mode, it constricts your chest where it can feel harder to breathe. So several years ago, one symptom that I had and that I went to EMDR therapy with, telling her that was one of my main complaints, other than feeling constant hypervigilance, constant anxiety. One of the main complaints was I feel physical, like it feels like a weight is on my chest, like how I'm doing it right now, like this. This is how it feels. It feels like a bowling ball of weight on my chest, and I haven't felt this my whole life, but I have felt it now for probably like 8 years, like constantly, and I've had like one moment of relief in all of that. And in that moment of relief, I had caused myself to feel very relaxed and safe, and I released a lot of emotions that were causing, that I was holding on to. And so then I got that moment of relief, and it was amazing, and I haven't felt that again since. So I've been trying to like strive to that. I'm like, what happened? So learning about the psoas muscle gave me the ability to understand that I think that's what happened. I think that that time when I was meditating, I was crying, I cried for hours, and I felt so much release. And then afterwards, I felt the release. There was no weight on my chest, and it was like the first time in 5 years I had felt that feeling, and I was ecstatic. And within hours or a day, the feeling was back. And if your question is, were you doing everything different, or were you engaging in some of the same things? I was engaging in some of the same things. At first, I wasn't, and then I was reaching out to my ex, who caused me PTSD. One of the people who did. So again, that's an example. And whenever I'm like waiting for him to text back, I'm tensed up. He's gonna text back. I don't know. Say he abandons me sometimes, but sometimes he comes back. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, your body, that is you creating that. So your psoas muscle is constricted, constricting you. So that weight that I've been complaining about, it is not in my head, and it's not just in my body because trauma is stored in your body. It is because my psoas muscle is in survival mode, and so my chest is constricted. Your internal organs, it constricts because I'm in survival mode. So that's why I'm feeling that chest. So then the question goes, okay, well, what do I do then? So then I've been learning how to release your psoas muscle. That's the whole thing. Is it's tight, it's constricted to constrict you to be able to defend yourself. But you don't want to live like that. And as someone who's lived like that for at least the past 9 years, and I'm healing from it every day, I'm learning and healing. So I just wanted to come on here and share that because that's something that I had no idea about. And so when you squat, when you intentionally squat, that helps it. And another way to release is, there's lots of different ways, of course, and do what feels best to your body. But another way is constructive resting, where you lay with your back on the ground, flat. You're flat on the ground, and your hands are beside, like laying down beside you, and then you have your knees up, bent up, and feet flat on the ground. Do that in the grass, and do that on a yoga mat. Do that. If you do that for 5 to 20 minutes, it helps. And you're doing it in that position where your knees are up. That helps that natural curve of your spine, and it helps start to release. And in that, when you're doing that, laying there, just breathe. And you can look around if it helps you feel safe, but just, or you can close your eyes, whatever you feel safe with, and just breathe and reaffirm, I'm here, I'm safe, whatever feels good to you. But the point of this is just to calm, and doing it in grass is bonus points because I learned recently that outdoors in nature holds a different frequency, which is insane to me because for years now I have been saying, I feel safe in nature. I don't have to mark myself like I'm stupid. I feel safe in nature. I feel safe in nature. Like, oh, I feel so safe in nature. Now I understand why, because there's literally different frequency in nature. So I align with that. Like, that is our natural frequency. But when you're in position, in situations, etc., that's causing you anxiety, stress, etc., how am I gonna pay my bills, etc., that is taking you out of this natural, slow flow rhythm that flowers align with, that soil, the frequency it gives off, trees, leaves, etc. So lately, the past week, I have been laying on the grass in the morning, and I felt called to. I felt called to do this after learning all that. I felt called more because in the morning when I wake up is probably when I feel the most anxiety. And I learned from research a few years ago that is in the morning you feel the most stress and anxiety, because your body's just been sitting all night, right, with it. So that's why it can be really helpful doing things at night to help relieve you of that, like meditation, laying like this, breathing, anything to kind of calm your body. What you're wanting to do is to teach your body that you're safe, because you're feeling like this. And I'm seeing this to myself. Like, I personally deal with this right now. You're feeling like this because you're bracing yourself. I'm bracing myself for something bad. And that's the energy I've been giving off for years now. And I didn't realize, I'm not sure. I didn't realize how to change it. But I realize now that since I've been doing these intentional movements with my psoas muscle and with my internal work, and with rewiring my brain, calming my nervous system, listening to subliminals, I said that wrong, subliminals, etc., I have felt a difference. And I just researched, and it said, does releasing your psoas muscle out of survival mode impact you mentally? And it said yes. The answer was like, hell yes. It was like, yes, it can definitely, because as long as your psoas muscle is constricted in that position, it continues to signal to your body, we're in fight, flight, or fight. Fight, flight, or fight, flight, or what the fuck is the other one? Fight, flight, or freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze. And then I remember that and I forgot the rest. So my point to this is being, and since I've started healing my psoas muscle, I have ended a relationship. I ended a long-term work relationship. Things are changing. And so I'm like, oh, and it's situations where I was being undervalued, and I spoke up for myself because I'm like, oh my God, I can't deal with this anymore. Spoke up for myself, and the connection was ended. And I'm like, oh. And so now I'm like, oh, it's because my reality is shifting. My inner world is shifting. So make sure you calm your nervous system, take care of yourself, and understand that the mind, body, and soul are all connected. The psoas muscle, as long as it's constricted and it's triggering your body, hey, you're in survival mode. You're in survival mode. As long as it's doing that, you're going to see threats everywhere. You're going to see. And that is helpful because that's something I've dealt with for years. And so now learning the root of, oh, it's not just shadow work. It's my body being signaled that. Now that we know that, then you know how to heal. Stay strong, stay loving, stay lovable. You are always lovable. You are always inherently worthy of good treatment, of respect, of consideration, of compassion. And if anything bad has happened to you, and when I say bad, I mean abuse, trauma, anything adverse, I'm sorry that happened. It's valid. Like, your experience is valid, and how you feel about that experience is valid. And I already said I'm sorry that happened. And fuck whoever, if anyone harmed you, fuck them. And it wasn't your fault. I think that's the biggest thing. And that it wasn't our fault what happened to us, but it is our responsibility to heal. And your girl is taking that responsibility and knowing how the psoas muscle is incorporated in my nervous system and calming and regulating my nervous system. Now that has empowered me to be able to move different. And my reality is already shifting because of it. And I'm continuing on.